Excluded from mom's birthday for not fitting their image, I stayed silent. When my sister's boyfriend called me boss, jaws dropped. Want to know I'm Mia Thompson, a 32-year-old co-founder of a biotech startup, living in a quaint apartment in a small town 50 miles west of Boston, where the winters plunge to 20 degrees Fahrenheit and the fall drapes the trees in vibrant reds and golds. Each morning, I brew a strong espresso, glance at the weather app, often predicting 60 degrees Fahrenheit spring days, and walk a block to my office, a modern hub buzzing with innovation. My work in healthcare biotech, developing solutions for public health crises, is complex, not the kind of job you can sum up in a sentence, especially for folks who equate office work with filing papers. But my family? They never bothered to understand. To them, I've always been the quirky younger sister, the one in plain sweaters, no makeup, and perpetually tethered to her laptop. My older sister, Hannah, 3 years my senior, was their pride and joy, the golden daughter who could do no wrong. Growing up in our family's modest ranch-style home, 10 miles from the nearest city, I learned early that love was unevenly distributed. Hannah, with her radiant smile and effortless grace, commanded every room. At Thanksgiving dinners, relatives would flock to her, exclaiming, "Hannah, that dress is gorgeous," or "Hannah, your new boyfriend's a doctor?" Impressive. Her laughter lit up the house, her presence a magnet for adoration. Me? I was a faint shadow in family photos, barely noticed. If anyone acknowledged me, it was with a vague, "Oh, Mia's doing something in biotech," as if I were a footnote in Hannah's biography. I used to believe that if I worked hard enough, stayed quiet, and carried the family's burdens, my parents, James and Susan Thompson, would one day see me with the same pride they showered on Hannah. But their eyes were fixed on her, their praise reserved for her every move. The disparity wasn't subtle. I remember one Christmas, when I was 12, sitting in our living room, the air thick with the scent of pine and Mom's gingerbread cookies. Hannah, then 15, unwrapped a $300 designer coat, her squeals of delight echoing as relatives clapped. Dad handed her a gift card for a spa day, saying, "You deserve to shine, sweetheart." My gift? A $20 bookstore voucher, tucked in a plain envelope with a post-it note. "For Mia, keep studying." Mom smiled and said, "You're so practical, Mia. Books suit you." I nodded, my throat tight, and retreated to my room, the sting of being an afterthought burning deep. That was the pattern. Hannah's milestones were celebrated with fanfare, mine with a pat on the back, if that. Family gatherings only widened the gap. Hannah's high school graduation, held in our backyard 5 miles from town, was a spectacle: catered barbecue, a live band, and a banner proclaiming Hannah's future. Her 21st birthday brought a weekend trip to a Cape Cod beach house, 70 miles away, with fireworks and a rented yacht. My milestones? A quiet dinner at home with store-bought lasagna, maybe a good job, Mia, if I prompted it. When I graduated college with a 4.0 GPA, Mom handed me a $25 grocery store cake and said, "You'll do fine, won't you?" No party, no cheers, just the assumption I'd keep grinding while Hannah basked in the spotlight. I told myself it was okay. In America, we're taught that family is about sacrifice, about showing up even when it's hard. I believed if I gave enough, my time, my effort, my heart, they'd see me as more than the weird sister. I was proud of my work, co-founding Pacific Genomics with 3 college friends, building a company that secured $2 million in funding for public health projects. I valued self-respect, the kind earned through late nights and relentless perseverance. But my family didn't care. They never asked about the 14-hour days I pulled to keep the company afloat, the stress of pitching to investors, or the thrill of signing a game-changing contract. When I mentioned my work, Dad would nod absently, saying, "Sounds complicated," before turning to Hannah's latest story, a new job, a new boyfriend, a new triumph. The imbalance extended beyond praise. For years, I sent $600 a month to cover their electric, water, internet, and cable bills, plus extra when Mom said the fridge broke, $1,200, or Dad's car needed repairs, $800. They never asked if I could afford it, just said, "Hannah's between jobs. Can you help?" I did, quietly, as if it were my duty, as if my role was to prop them up while Hannah shone. Over 2 years, I sent $15,720, every dollar a silent hope that they'd see my worth. But they didn't. At family dinners, Hannah's charm dominated, her stories of dating a doctor or landing a PR gig drawing gasps. If I spoke, the conversation shifted, my words fading like smoke. Noah would joke, "Mia's the brainiac," and Liam would laugh, but their teasing masked a truth. I was invisible unless they needed something fixed. We talk a lot in this country about family as a haven, a place where you're valued for who you are. I clung to that ideal, hoping my sacrifices would earn a place in their hearts. But the years piled on, and the truth settled like frost on a 20 degrees Fahrenheit winter morning. I wasn't their daughter in the way Hannah was. I was the one they called when bills were due, the one they overlooked when praise was handed out. I kept hoping for a moment when they'd say, "Mia, we're proud of you." But hope, I'd learn, could be a heavy chain if you carried it alone too long. The early spring evening was cool, a brisk 50 degrees Fahrenheit, as I sat in my apartment 50 miles west of Boston, the faint hum of my espresso machine filling the silence. I'd just closed a $2 million funding round for my biotech startup, Pacific Genomics, a milestone that had me riding high. With 3 days off, I planned to drive the 10 miles to my parents' ranch-style home to help prep for Mom's birthday, a tradition I'd kept for years, setting up tables, picking up cakes, stringing fairy lights in their backyard. Nothing fancy, just my way of showing up for family. I grabbed my phone to call and confirm, expecting Mom's usual warmth or Dad's gruff, "Good to know." But when Dad answered, his voice was strange, clipped, like he was reading from a script he didn't like. "Hey, Dad," I said, leaning against my kitchen counter, the granite cool under my palm. "I'm coming home early for Mom's birthday. Anything you need me to pick up or set up?" There was a long pause, the kind that makes your stomach twist. He cleared his throat, and when he spoke, his words were deliberate, each one landing like a stone. "Mia, if you can, don't come home this year." I froze, my grip tightening on the phone, thinking maybe he was worried about my workload. "It's fine, Dad," I said, forcing a smile into my voice. "I've cleared my schedule. I really want to be there for Mom." His tone hardened, unyielding. "Hannah's bringing her new boyfriend, Ethan. He's a CFO, polished, successful. Your job, it's hard to explain. You showing up with spark comparisons make things awkward. It's better if you stay away." The world stopped. My chest tightened, a cold sting crawling down my spine like ice water. My job, co-founding a biotech company that saved lives, was hard to explain. I was an embarrassment because I didn't fit their polished image. I clenched my teeth, my voice barely controlled. "Are you saying I'd make the family look bad? That I'm not welcome because I'm not impressive enough?" Dad didn't back down. If anything, he doubled down, his voice sharp as a blade. "If you insist on coming, don't call me your father." The line went dead. No hesitation, no second thoughts. The silence in my apartment was deafening, the espresso cup in my hand now cold as stone. I stood there, staring at the blank phone screen, the soft glow mocking the chaos in my head. My heart pounded, each beat a reminder of the words that had just severed me from the family I'd spent years trying to hold together. I didn't cry, not yet. I just sank into my armchair by the window, the early spring sunlight filtering through white curtains, its warmth unable to touch the chill inside me. Dad's voice echoed, "Don't call me your father." It wasn't just a rejection, it was an erasure, a declaration that I didn't belong in the family I'd poured $15,720 into over 2 years, covering their $600 monthly bills for electricity, water, internet, and cable, plus $1,200 for a fridge, $800 for Dad's car repairs. All without a single thank you, just the expectation that I'd keep paying because Hannah was struggling. I thought of every family gathering where I'd been a shadow. Last Thanksgiving, 5 miles from home, relatives fawned over Hannah's new PR job, her charm lighting up the room. I'd mentioned a $2 million deal I'd closed, and Mom had nodded absently, saying, "That's nice, Mia," before asking Hannah about her boyfriend. Dad had once called my work too technical, steering the conversation back to Hannah's latest triumph. I'd swallowed it all, believing family was about showing up, even when they didn't show up for you. But this was different. This was my own father banning me from Mom's birthday to impress Hannah's boyfriend, a man I'd never met because my existence might spark comparisons. I stood, my legs unsteady, and paced the hardwood floor, the 65 degrees Fahrenheit air doing little to calm the fire in my chest. I'd given them everything, $600 a month, late-night calls to fix their problems, years of silence when they overlooked me. And now, I was an inconvenience, a blemish on their perfect family portrait. I stopped by my desk, my laptop glowing with the day's emails. I opened my banking app, the transaction history staring back like a ledger of my misplaced loyalty. $192.48 for electricity, $136.72 for water, $248.50 for internet and cable, month after month, $15,720 in total. They'd never asked if I could afford it, just said, "Hannah's between jobs. Can you help?" I'd helped, as if it were my duty, as if my role was to keep their lives running while Hannah shone. I hovered over the auto payment settings, my finger trembling. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect, about refusing to be erased. I thought of Mom's birthday parties, where I'd hung lights in their backyard, 10 miles from town, while Hannah basked in praise. I'd been the one they called when the fridge broke, when the car needed fixing, when the bills were due. But when it came to belonging, I was expendable. I clicked cancel on each payment: electricity, water, internet, cable. Notifications flashed. Auto payment canceled successfully. No alarms, no warnings, just silence. The same silence I'd lived in for years. I leaned back, my breath steadying. The decision wasn't impulsive. It was a boundary, a line drawn after years of being taken for granted. In America, we're taught that family is about love and respect, but my family had shown me neither. I'd valued self-respect, built through late nights at Pacific Genomics, my biotech startup, where I'd secured $2 million in funding. I'd valued perseverance, showing up for family that didn't show up for me. But I was done. I closed my laptop, the click echoing like a door shutting on a chapter I'd outgrown. Mom's birthday was in 2 days, and I wouldn't call, send a card, or post online, not out of spite, but because I couldn't pretend anymore. The next morning, my phone buzzed at 9 a.m. Mom's text. "Mia, sweetheart, the power's out. Can you check for us? It's an important day." No mention of Dad's call, no apology, just the same sweet tone, as if I hadn't been banned from her party. 15 minutes later, Dad. Still no power. Water's off too. Call the provider now. Short, cold, a command, like I was still their unpaid accountant. Then Hannah. "Mia, the internet's down. Guests are coming, and Mom's freaking out. What's going on?" I set the phone down, my coffee cold, and stared out at the tree-lined street, the 55 degrees Fahrenheit air calm. They didn't ask, "Are you okay?" They didn't acknowledge Dad's rejection. They just wanted me to fix it, like always. I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I typed, "3 weeks ago, Dad said if I came to Mom's birthday, I shouldn't call him my father. I'm doing what he asked. If this is inconvenient, maybe rely on someone you're not ashamed of." I stared at the words, my heart racing, then deleted them. Not because I doubted myself, but because I knew they'd twist my words, hear only what suited them. I set the phone down, a quiet resolve settling in. I wasn't here to argue. I was here to let their world unravel without my hands to hold it together. That afternoon, I opened my work email, scanning the weekend operations report. One subject line caught my eye: New Jersey staff transfer to Boston, awaiting approval. I clicked the attached list, skimming names, and stopped cold. Ethan Brooks. My pulse quickened. 3 days ago, Mom had gushed about Hannah's boyfriend, Ethan, a CFO, so successful. I opened his profile, head of finance, New Jersey branch, transferring to Boston HQ, approver, Mia Thompson, co-founder. I let out a soft, incredulous laugh. The irony was almost poetic. The man my family had banned me to impress was about to report to me, the sister they deemed an embarrassment. I leaned back, the 65 degrees Fahrenheit sunlight streaming through my office window, illuminating the truth. They'd never known I co-founded Pacific Genomics, never asked about my work beyond something in biotech. They assumed I was a desk worker, not the woman running a $2 million company. I didn't need to approve or deny Ethan's transfer. Life had already set the stage. I pictured Mom's birthday, 10 miles away, where Hannah would parade Ethan before relatives, oblivious that he'd soon call me boss. The thought didn't bring joy, only a strange calm, like the moment before a storm breaks. The day of Mom's birthday arrived, a gray 60 degrees Fahrenheit morning shrouded in fog. My phone buzzed relentlessly. "Mom. Mia, please, guests are arriving. The power's still out. Dad, no electricity, no water. Fix this now. Hannah. Mia, Mom's in tears. The internet's down. Stop being selfish." I sat on my balcony, sipping peppermint tea, the messages piling up like evidence of their entitlement. They didn't mention Dad's call, didn't ask why I'd stopped paying their $600 monthly bills. They just expected me to fix it, as if my role was to clean up their messes while they celebrated without me. I didn't respond. For the first time, I let their chaos unfold without my intervention. At 5 p.m., a video call from Aunt Diane, the only relative who still sent holiday texts, popped up. I hesitated, then answered. Her kitchen appeared, lit by a phone flashlight, her face tired. "Mia," she said softly, "your mom's panicking. The house is dark, everyone's scrambling." I said nothing, my expression neutral. She pressed, "You've never missed your mom's birthday. What happened?" I took a breath, my voice steady. "Dad said I'd embarrass the family, that if I came, I shouldn't call him my father. What should I do after that?" Diane froze, her eyes widening. In the background, I heard Mom's voice shrill. "She's probably sulking. No one's heartless enough to do this." Then Hannah, sharp. "Ethan's almost here. Someone called the power company. I can't believe she did this." I gave a faint, joyless smile. Diane heard it all, her face shifting from curiosity to something heavier. Then the screen moved, and a new face appeared. Ethan, in a crisp suit, his polished demeanor unmistakable. He stared at me, his jaw dropping. "Mia," he said, almost a whisper. The room went silent. "You're Mia Thompson, the co-founder of Pacific Genomics?" I nodded, my eyes steady. A stunned pause followed. Ethan turned to the room, his voice clear. "She's my direct boss, the one who approved my transfer to Boston." The silence was deafening. Hannah's jaw dropped, Mom froze, Dad gripped the table. I spoke calmly. "Hope your introduction goes well." Then I ended the call. I set my phone down, the 60 degrees Fahrenheit air soft against my skin. I wasn't triumphant, just free. The truth had spoken for itself, without a word from me. My family had banned me to impress Ethan, oblivious that I was his superior, the woman running the company they dismissed as hard to explain. In that moment, their perfect facade crumbled, and I didn't need to lift a finger. The silence in my apartment was suffocating as I sat in my armchair, the cold espresso cup clutched in my hands, my father's words echoing like a cruel refrain. "If you insist on coming, don't call me your father." The 50 degrees Fahrenheit spring evening outside my window, 50 miles west of Boston, offered no comfort, the faint glow of streetlights casting long shadows across my hardwood floor. My heart ached, not just from Dad's rejection, but from the deeper wound it exposed, a lifetime of being invisible in my own family. James Thompson, my father, had banned me from Mom's birthday to avoid awkward comparisons with my sister Hannah's new boyfriend, Ethan, a CFO whose polished success outshone my hard-to-explain job as a biotech co-founder. The betrayal wasn't just a single phone call. It was the shattering of a hope I'd carried for 32 years, that my family would one day see me as more than a shadow. I'd always been the steady one, the one who kept the Thompson family running when life got tough. For 2 years, I'd sent $600 a month to cover their electricity, water, internet, and cable bills, plus $1,200 for a new fridge and $800 for Dad's car repairs, a total of $15,720. I'd driven 10 miles to their ranch-style home to fix problems, stayed up past midnight to manage crises at Pacific Genomics, my biotech startup, and never once complained. Each payment, each late-night call, was a silent plea for their love, a belief that my sacrifices would earn me a place in their hearts. But that night, as Dad's words cut through, I realized those sacrifices had been for a family that didn't see me as a daughter, only as a resource. The pain wasn't new. It was a wound reopened, raw and bleeding. I flashed back to Christmas, when I was 12, sitting in our living room, 10 miles from town, the air thick with pine, and Mom's gingerbread. Hannah, then 15, unwrapped a $300 designer coat, her laughter filling the house as relatives cheered. Dad gave her a spa day gift card, saying, "You're our star, Hannah." My gift? A $20 bookstore voucher with a note. "For Mia, keep studying." I'd swallowed my hurt, telling myself it was just one day. But the pattern repeated, Hannah's graduation bash with a live band, her 21st birthday at a Cape Cod beach house 70 miles away, my milestones met with a $25 cake, and "you'll be fine, Mia." I'd convinced myself that my quiet contributions, $600 a month, $15,720 over 2 years, would make them proud, that they'd see the woman who'd built a $2 million company from scratch. But that night, their rejection tore through that hope. Dad's voice, firm and unyielding, wasn't just banning me from a party, it was declaring me an embarrassment, a flaw in their perfect family image. Mom's silence, her absence from the call, was its own betrayal. She hadn't fought for me, hadn't said, "Mia belongs here." Hannah, the sister I'd supported through her struggles, hadn't called to say, "Come anyway." They'd all agreed, silently or not, that I was better left out to avoid awkwardness with Ethan, a man whose success they valued more than mine. The pain was physical, a tightness in my chest, a burning in my throat, as if my body was rejecting the lie I'd lived for too long. In America, we're taught that family is a sanctuary, a place where you're cherished for who you are, not what you give. I'd grown up clinging to that ideal, valuing self-respect and perseverance, believing my hard work would earn their love. But I was wrong. I'd paid $600 a month for their bills, driven 10 miles to fix their fridge, stayed up until 2 a.m. to save my company from collapse, and they'd never asked, "Mia, are you okay?" They'd called me when the bathroom pipe burst, when the car broke down, when Hannah needed a break. But when I needed them, when I needed to be seen, to be loved, they were nowhere. The betrayal wasn't just Dad's words. It was the realization that I'd been a utility, called upon when Hannah wasn't available, dismissed when she was. I thought of every moment I'd been compared to Hannah, her charm, her boyfriends, her perfect life. At Thanksgiving, 5 miles from home, relatives praised her new PR job while my $2 million deal was brushed off with, "That's nice, Mia." Dad called my work too technical, Mom nodded along, and Hannah never once said, "Mia's doing amazing things." I'd poured $15,720 into their lives, $600 a month for 2 years, and never heard a thank you that wasn't tied to another request. The hurt wasn't just emotional, it was a hollowing out of the hope I'd carried, a void where I'd once believed I could earn their love. As I sat there, the apartment's warmth felt like a cruel contrast to the cold inside me. The photos on my shelf, me at a conference, my team at Pacific Genomics, were reminders of a life I'd built alone. The family photos, tucked in a drawer, felt like relics of a lie. I'd been taught that perseverance meant showing up, even when it hurt. But that night, the hurt was too deep, the betrayal too raw. My family had drawn a line, and I was on the outside, not because of what I'd done, but because of who I was, a woman whose success didn't fit their narrative, whose presence didn't shine like Hannah's. The pain wasn't just about missing Mom's birthday, it was about losing the illusion that I'd ever been truly part of their world. The weight of my father's words, "If you insist on coming, don't call me your father," hung over me like a storm cloud, heavy and unyielding, as I sat in my apartment 50 miles west of Boston. The 50 degrees Fahrenheit spring evening was quiet, the only sound the faint hum of my espresso machine cooling on the counter. My chest was tight, my heart pounding with a mix of pain and fury, but beneath it, a spark of clarity flickered. For 32 years, I'd been the steady one in the Thompson family, sending $600 a month for their bills, $15,720 over 2 years, fixing their fridge, their car, their lives, all while my sister, Hannah, basked in their praise. I believed family meant showing up, no matter how much it hurt. But Dad's rejection, banning me from Mom's birthday to avoid awkward comparisons with Hannah's CFO boyfriend, Ethan, was the final straw. I wasn't just invisible, I was expendable. That night, I decided to stop begging for their love and start protecting my own worth. I stood from my armchair, the early spring sunlight fading through my window, and walked to my desk, my steps deliberate. My laptop glowed with the day's emails, but I opened my banking app instead. The transaction history stared back, a ledger of my misplaced loyalty. $192.48 for electricity, $136.72 for water, $248.50 for internet and cable, month after month, totaling $15,720. I'd sent $600 a month for 2 years, plus $1,200 for a fridge, $800 for Dad's car repairs, without a single thank you. They'd never asked if I could afford it, just said, "Hannah's struggling. Can you help?" I'd helped, as if it were my duty, as if my role was to keep their lives running while Hannah shone. But Dad's words had shattered that illusion. I wasn't their daughter, not in the way that mattered. I was a utility called upon when Hannah wasn't available, dismissed when she was. My finger hovered over the auto payment settings, trembling with the weight of what I was about to do. This wasn't just about money, it was about respect, about refusing to be erased. I thought of every family dinner, 10 miles from my apartment, where Hannah's charm dominated, her stories of boyfriends and jobs drowning out my $2 million biotech deals. I'd been the one they called when the bathroom pipe burst, when the bills were due, when Mom needed a new fridge. But when it came to belonging, I was an embarrassment, my job, hard to explain next to Ethan's polished title. I clicked cancel on each payment, electricity, water, internet, cable. Notifications flashed. Auto payment canceled successfully. No alarms, no warnings, just silence, the same silence I'd lived in for years. I leaned back, my breath steadying. The decision wasn't impulsive. It was a boundary, a line drawn after years of being taken for granted. In America, we're taught that family is about love and respect, but my family had shown me neither. I'd valued self-respect, built through late nights at Pacific Genomics, my biotech startup, where I'd secured $2 million in funding. I'd valued perseverance, showing up for a family that didn't show up for me. But I was done. I closed my laptop, the click echoing like a door shutting on a chapter I'd outgrown. Mom's birthday was in 2 days, and I wouldn't call, send a card, or post online, not out of spite, but because I couldn't pretend anymore. The next morning, my phone buzzed at 9 a.m. Mom's text. "Mia, sweetheart, the power's out. Can you check for us? It's an important day." No mention of Dad's call, no apology, just the same sweet tone, as if I hadn't been banned from her party. 15 minutes later, Dad. Still no power. Water's off too. Call the provider now. Short, cold, a command, like I was still their unpaid accountant. Then Hannah. "Mia, the internet's down. Guests are coming, and Mom's freaking out. What's going on?"